What if I told you that a man who lost his $1 million empire to addiction found a way back to wealth that defied every business strategy you've ever heard? This isn't just another rags to riches story. This is about a transformation so profound that it challenges everything we think we know about success, failure, and the power of faith. Meet David Chen, a Silicon Valley entrepreneur who built a tech company worth $12 million by age 32. He had everything: the penthouse, the cars, the respect, but behind the success was a growing dependency that would eventually consume it all. Today, we're diving deep into his journey from the boardroom to rock bottom, and the unexpected path that led him not just back to wealth, but to something far more valuable. The rise before the fall. David's story begins like many Silicon Valley dreams. A computer science graduate with an innovative idea for cloud storage solutions. He launched his startup from his garage in 2015. Within 3 years, his company was generating millions in revenue. The venture capitalists were calling, the media was watching, and David was living what seemed like the perfect life. But success came with pressure. 18-hour workdays became the norm. The stress was overwhelming, and David found himself reaching for something to help him cope. It started with prescription pills for back pain after a minor injury. What began as legitimate medical treatment slowly transformed into something darker. The descent into darkness. By 2018, David's addiction had taken hold. The pills weren't enough anymore. His performance at work began to suffer, but his wealth provided a buffer that allowed him to hide his problem for longer than most could. He was spending thousands of dollars a week feeding his addiction, all while trying to maintain the facade of a successful CEO. The first major red flag came when David missed a crucial investor meeting. His business partner Mark had to cover for him, making excuses about a family emergency. But the lies were becoming harder to maintain. David's decision-making became erratic, his temper unpredictable, and his once sharp business instincts dulled by the constant haze of substances. When everything collapsed, the turning point came in March 2019. David had been absent from the office for 3 days straight, unreachable by phone or email. When Mark finally found him, David was in his apartment, barely conscious, surrounded by the remnants of a 3-day binge. The company's biggest client had just pulled out of a $5 million deal because David had failed to show up for the final presentation. Within 6 months, everything unraveled. The investors pulled their funding, employees started leaving, and lawsuits began piling up. David's personal life wasn't faring any better. He's left him, his family distanced themselves, and his health was deteriorating rapidly. By December 2019, the company was bankrupt, and David had lost everything. His business, his savings, his relationships, and his self-respect. Rock bottom, and the first prayer. David found himself living in a small, run-down apartment, surviving on what little remained of his savings. The man who once commanded boardrooms was now struggling to get out of bed each morning. It was during one particularly dark night in February 2020, sitting alone and contemplating ending it all, that something unexpected happened. His grandmother's voice echoed in his memory. She had always told him that when everything else failed, prayer was the one thing that never would. David hadn't prayed since childhood, hadn't even considered himself religious. But in that moment of complete desperation, with nothing left to lose, he dropped to his knees and spoke to a God he wasn't even sure existed. That first prayer wasn't eloquent or sophisticated. It was raw, desperate, and honest. David poured out his pain, his regret, his fear, and his desperate need for help. He prayed for strength, for guidance, and for a chance to make things right. What happened next would change everything. The gradual awakening, the change didn't happen overnight. David began attending a small community church near his apartment, initially drawn more by the free coffee and human contact than by any spiritual calling. But slowly, something began to shift. The messages of redemption, forgiveness, and second chances started to resonate with his broken spirit. He joined a faith-based recovery program where he met others who had walked similar paths. For the first time in years, David felt understood and accepted despite his failures. The program emphasized not just overcoming addiction, but finding purpose through service to others. David began volunteering at a local homeless shelter, using his business skills to help improve their operations. Finding purpose in service while volunteering. David noticed a significant problem. Many homeless individuals had valuable skills, but no way to market themselves or connect with potential employers. Using his background in technology and business, he started developing a simple app that would match homeless individuals with temporary work opportunities, allowing them to earn money and build references. Working on this project late into the night, David felt something he had unexperienced in years, genuine passion for his work that was undriven by money or recognition. He was creating something that could genuinely help people, and that sense of purpose was more fulfilling than any profit margin he'd ever achieved. The power of faith-driven decisions. As David's sobriety strengthened and his faith deepened, he began to approach business decisions differently. Instead of asking, "What will make me the most money?" he started asking, "How can this help the most people?" This shift in perspective led to breakthrough innovations in his app that he never would have considered during his profit-focused days. He prayed before every major decision, seeking guidance not just for success, but for wisdom to do the right thing. When a major tech company approached him to buy his app for $2 million, David's prayer led him to decline. Instead, he chose to keep the platform independent, ensuring it would remain focused on helping people rather than maximizing corporate profits. The unexpected return of wealth. David's app, now called Second Chance Connections, began gaining national attention. Major news outlets featured stories about homeless individuals who had found stable employment through the platform. Corporate sponsors wanted to support the initiative, and other cities requested similar programs. But here's where David's story takes an extraordinary turn. Instead of accepting corporate buyouts or venture capital, David structured his business as a social enterprise. Every dollar of profit was reinvested into expanding the platform's reach and improving services for users. Paradoxically, this approach attracted even more investment and partnership opportunities. By 2023, Second Chance Connections was operating in 50 cities across the United States. David's personal net worth had grown to $8 million. Not from extracting maximum profit, but from building maximum value for society. The wealth came as a natural byproduct of focusing on purpose rather than profit. The deeper transformation. What's remarkable about David's story is not just the financial recovery. It's the complete transformation of his relationship with money and success. The wealth he has now feels different from what he lost. It's not a source of identity or self-worth, but a tool for creating positive change in the world. David lives modestly. Despite his wealth, he drives a used car, lives in a simple apartment, and gives away 60% of his income to various charitable causes. The man who once spent thousands on drugs now finds joy in providing job training for people struggling with addiction. His daily routine includes prayer and meditation, not as religious obligation, but as essential practices for maintaining perspective and making decisions aligned with his values. David credits this spiritual discipline with keeping him grounded and focused on what truly matters. Lessons from the journey. David's transformation offers profound lessons about the relationship between spirituality and success. First, that true wealth isn't just about accumulating money, but about creating value that extends beyond yourself. Second, that our lowest moments often contain the seeds of our greatest growth, if we're willing to surrender our ego and seek help. Perhaps most importantly, David's story demonstrates that sustainable success requires a foundation deeper than ambition or talent. For him, that foundation became faith. Not just religious faith, but faith in the possibility of redemption, the power of service, and the idea that our biggest failures can become our greatest strengths. The ripple effect today, Second Chance Connections, has helped over 30,000 people find employment. Many of them were struggling with addiction, homelessness, or other challenges that traditional job platforms couldn't address. David receives letters and messages daily from people whose lives have been transformed through opportunities they found on his platform. But the impact extends beyond individual success stories. The platform has changed how many employers think about hiring people with difficult backgrounds, proving that giving someone a second chance often results in exceptional loyalty and performance. David's approach has inspired other entrepreneurs to consider how their businesses can serve society while generating profit. The man behind the mission. The David Chen of today bears little resemblance to the driven, self-centered entrepreneur of 2018. He speaks softly, listens carefully, and leads with humility rather than ego. His office walls are covered not with awards or profit charts, but with thank you letters from platform users and photos from community events. When asked about his greatest achievement, David doesn't mention his financial recovery or business success. Instead, he talks about the day he celebrated 2 years of sobriety, surrounded by friends from his recovery community who had become his chosen family. That celebration, held in the same community center where he once volunteered, represented a wealth that no amount of money could buy. A new definition of Rich David's story challenges us to reconsider what it means to be truly wealthy. Is richness measured only in dollars, or does it encompass purpose, relationships, impact, and inner peace? His journey suggests that when we align our work with our values and seek to serve something greater than ourselves, financial abundance often follows naturally. The prayer that began David's transformation was unto requests for money or success. It was a cry for help, meaning, and redemption. The wealth that followed was almost incidental to the deeper healing and purpose he discovered. In losing everything, David found what he had been searching for all along: a life worth living and work worth doing. This story reminds us that our greatest failures are not the end of our story, but often the beginning of our most important chapter. Sometimes we need to lose everything we thought we wanted to discover what we actually need. For David Chen, that discovery led not just to financial recovery, but to a richness of spirit that no addiction could ever take away. If you found David's story inspiring, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever experienced a moment where losing everything led to finding something better? Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of transformation and resilience, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Remember, your lowest moment might just be the beginning of your greatest comeback.